So not only do you get the reports, you need to engage local real estate agents and obtain a written sales appraisal letter from the agent. So you need to, if you've got a property already, whether it's your house, whether it's a property that you're settling, or whether it's a property you already have as investment property, ring up the top 5 agents in the area and say, listen, I want an appraisal, a sales appraisal on my property. Agents love doing sales appraisals. I mean, they will mail drop a whole suburb sometimes, just letting people know that they're in the area doing sales appraisals, because they want your business ultimately, and they want to be in your face as often as they can. So when it comes time for you to sell, there's a good likelihood you're going to engage their services. So what you do is you actually ring 5 top agents in the area, and you know who they are. Just go for the brand name ones, and ring up Hawkins, Stewart, Ray White, whoever it is, Buxton, depending on where you live, and say, listen, I'm an investor, I've got a property here in Bentley. Can you give me an appraisal what it was worth for me if I was to sell it today? Now, in the written report, not only will they give you a price range, in the actual report, they'll give you 5 to 10 comparable sales, substantiating their findings. So let's say, for example, your property in Bentley is worth, you got a townhouse, you picked it up a few years ago, and it's worth $850. Now the agent will give you a letter saying that we estimate the property would sell today for between $900,000, for example, to $950, based on that particular property. But not only will they give you that in writing, they'll actually give you comparable sales, properties that have sold in Bentley or Bentley East in the last 3 months that are very similar to your property, but have sold at a higher price point to substantiate their claim. Now remember, this letter is just an opinion. Every agent can do this in Australia, okay? So what you do is you get 5 of those, so you end up with in your comparable sales, each agent will give you 5 to 10, let's say, comparable sales. So by the time you go through 5 agents, you've got 25 to 50 comparable sales, and you choose the top best 5 of those, okay? So what you're doing is you're arming yourself with evidence that your property in Bentley is worth $950. Then what you do is you ring up your mortgage broker, and if you've bought the property in the trust, which you should have bought in the trust, if you watch my other YouTube videos or read my book, you would end up in business banking. Now in business banking, your business banker can actually give you the name of the valuer and the valuation company they use for your property. And what you need to do is ring up that valuer. Let's say it's Bob from ABC Valuations. By the way, that's a hypothetical company. You ring them up and say, Bob, I've got a townhouse in Bentley and I want to get a valuation for that property. Okay? Now what happens is you get a private valuation, but you ask for the valuation format to be a short form pro forma valuation, which is a valuation used for mortgage purposes by banks. And you want to meet Bob on site. So if you've got tenants in there, you've got to organise that with your landlords to make sure you can let Bob through the property. When you meet Bob, you say, Bob, and these are the magic words you need to say to a valuer. I'm never planning to sell this property. I'm a buy and hold long-term investor. I'm simply reevaluating the property so I can get equity out of the property and buy another investment property. In fact, I've gone to local agents, the top 5 or 3 agents in the area, and I've got written letters here that the property is worth $950. I've also downloaded RP data reports showing you the recent sales history of the area, and these are the comparable sales that substantiate my claim that the property is $950. I've also got the top 5 comparable sales and use the information the agents have given you plus RP data to say, this is why I think the townhouse is $950. But once again, I'm not planning to sell it. I just need a high valuation to increase my line of credit so I can go again, okay? They're the magic words you need to say to a valuer, okay? Because ultimately, if they think you're going to sell the property, they know automatically the valuation is going to be tested in the market. If you're not selling the property, there's no risk for them. So going back to this example, once you get those, you find out the name of the panel valuers that your current lender is using in the area, a mortgage broker, a banker. The best way to do it is business banking or your mortgage broker. And you want to create a research journal, meet the valuer, provide him with those comparable sales, and give him the information. Now, the valuer will either come in and say, you know what, I want to do my own research. I don't care about any of the information you're going to give me, which is very rare, but it happens sometimes. They completely ignore you, which I've had happen to me. All you do is you trigger another valuation. You see, each lender has a panel of valuers. It could be 2 or 3 that they use in the same area. So you might have to trigger 2 or 3 valuations in order to get a favorable valuation. Now, it might cost you $200 per valuation, or $250 up to $300. But you know what? That's the best money you're ever going to spend. Think about it. You're creating 100 grand worth of equity in a townhouse without even doing a renovation. For 300 bucks? Are you kidding me? That's the best return on your money ever. You tell me something else that for $300 we can create $100,000 in equity that you can draw out immediately to use for other investing endeavors, and you still hold the asset. Have the property revalued using a good panel valuer, and then basically you show the value of the relevant market research that you've obtained and provide your opinion on what the property will be worth. Don't be scared to say the price. Say, look, I think this townhouse is worth $950. Here's 5 other sales that sold for $950. This is what I think the property is worth. Don't be afraid to say that to the valuer. You know, the more $950 he hears and the more $950 he sees written down on letters from agents, subconsciously he'll start thinking about the $950 figure. Okay, make sure that all you're doing here is you're making the job of the valuer super simple, and you've backed up your research. You're not trying to bullshit the valuer. The comparables have to be real, guys. Don't. If you've got a 3-bedroom house or 3-bedroom townhouse, don't compare them to 4-bedroom houses, okay? It's got to be comparable. It's got to be properties that are similar, that have sold in the last 3 to 6 months. The magic words: I'm never planning to sell the property. I'm a buy and hold long-term investor. If your property is worth 15 to 20% more as a result of the high valuation, you can then leapfrog from one property to another a lot faster. This will enable you to achieve your financial goals much faster, okay? Your job as a professional investor is to revalue investment properties minimum every single year. You know, revalue them. You don't have to do anything with the valuation, but even if you create 30 grand or 50 grand more every year in your property portfolio, why wouldn't you do it for 300 bucks? It will take you a couple of weekends to get opinions, $300, and you've got more equity in your property. Now, one thing it's important to note as a strategy, if you're investing in, say, townhouses in Bentley, make sure you're purchasing them around the median price of the chosen suburb, because then you have the widest range of comparable sales. So if you buy a really expensive, unique property or very cheap, you might not get a lot of comparable sales coming on the market. If you buy around the median price of the suburb, which is the bulk